up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Des. I go by Des B, and you have stumbled across my YouTube channel. If you're new here, hello, and if you're not new here, welcome back. Today, we are going to be discussing exactly what the title of this video says, and that is how to shred body fat. Now, we're not talking about literally slicing off fat or doing excessive amounts of cardio, low carb, false diets. What I'm going to be talking to you about is the science of how to get in a caloric deficit, how to excel in it, and how to lose the weight you've wanted to. To start off, let me say that there is so much amazing research and articles out there on the internet that you can easily educate yourself more about, but for the sense of this video, I want to keep it very small, very short, very easily digestible for anyone out there that simply just feels overwhelmed. We live nowadays in the information world where virtually you are getting too much of it. There's this out here, there's that out there, there's this other thing out there, there's this out there, and there's so many different places to look for information that it's
fucking confusing.
So what I'm here today is to not confuse you, keep it straight, to the point, easily digestible, to where you can learn from it and apply it. I really want this little flower in here because it's cute. So to start out, what in the heck is a cut? What is shredding fat? What do you do? How do you accomplish that? To get started, I'll tell you what a cut is, and that is virtually being in a caloric deficit. As we go through our life, we start to eat food daily, and that ends up being our maintenance calorie level. This is where we find a weight that we're at. We virtually eat the same amount of food each day, so our weight stays the same. When you get into a deficit, you're eating a less amount of that food to where your body fat and weight decreases. When you're in a surplus, it's where you're eating more than that maintenance amount of food and your body weight increases along with typically fat mass. What you first have to do is figure out where in the heck your maintenance calorie is. How many calories is your body burning each day? This is gonna be called your basal metabolic rate. This is where you could literally lay on the ground, lay on a bed like Sleeping Beauty and burn calories at rest. Once you find that number, basal metabolic rate, that's gonna be obviously at rest. Now, as we go through our everyday adult life, we are moving, we're walking to our car, we're doing laundry. So all these things do add up to activity expenditure, whether you're in a gym or not. So you're gonna have to calculate in at least a couple hundred calories for daily activity expenditure, along with, like I said, the calories that your body's naturally expending due to your current fat mass and your current lean body mass. Once you find that number, you're gonna wanna decrease anywhere from 300 to 500 calories to be in a caloric deficit. If you're someone that does macros, this is where you would manipulate your carbs and your fat variables, with protein typically staying the same. Once you calculate that number, once you decrease those calories that you need in order to get in a deficit, that's when you're gonna start hitting those calories. If you're someone that wants to track calories, that is completely fine, but to get the most out of a caloric deficit is gonna be truly to track macros. As we all know, calories in, calories out, it's a very simple math when it comes to losing weight, but if you need what your body will thrive off of and utilize, that is when macros come into play. I will definitely link some nutritional info below and macro sites that can help you. And one thing I would definitely suggest is when you're going through all these different sites and calculating your macros, I would definitely suggest to take all of the macros from each site and take an average of them instead of just, choosing one site and sticking to it. Another thing I would suggest is when you're starting out in a deficit to follow these macros or follow the calories for about 2 weeks before making any drastic changes into your diet. Now that we have the calorie aspect down, understanding that calories need to be lower than what we are naturally expending and taking in, now we can talk about how to get in that added activity expenditure. When you're calculating your added activity expenditure, you are not going to calculate this in your deficit macros. When you're in a deficit, we are not counting the activity that we're necessarily expending. The more expenditure you can get, the more calories you can eat while losing weight, but you want to make sure that you are still in a caloric deficit. A few ways that you can get this added activity expenditure are from walks with the dogs, parking farther away at the grocery store, adding added cardio, doing group fitness classes, making sure your rest times and your workouts are shorter. The higher we can get the heart rate, the more we can get the heart working, and the higher we can get our caloric expenditure or caloric burn, that's when we're gonna succeed. When it comes to adding cardio, you might be wondering where to start. For all of my clients personally, I like to start at a very simple 3 to 4 sessions a week of just 15 minutes of cardio. This is gonna be added cardio to your natural everyday expenditure. So say that you walk every day, in the morning you walk your dogs, I'm not gonna count that. I'm talking legit cardio where we're on the Stairmaster, the elliptical, or doing HIIT. Once you're at that 3 to 4 sessions of 15 minutes of cardio, that is when you can definitely add on time or add on sessions. I only go by increments of maybe 5 minutes to 7 minutes on top of those sessions, so that weekly, that total amount of cardio you're doing always goes up. Again, this is something you could easily adjust weekly, but I would definitely suggest adjusting bi-weekly. It takes more than 7 days for the body to adapt to where you can really understand the changes that need to be made in order for you to see progress. The different kinds of cardio that you can involve, like I said about walking the dog, HIIT classes, cardio, equipment, etc., is really up to you. Everyone's body thrives off of different things. For example, whenever I'm in a cut, I rarely do HIIT. However, in this cut, I'm doing HIIT because I want to. Is one better than the other? Not necessarily, because they're all equaling the same cardio expenditure, activity expenditure, but they do differ in terms of the muscle adaptation and the muscle that you can keep. When you're doing HIIT, you are doing high intensity interval sessions, you're doing weightlifting, cardio, a mixture of both. You could easily maintain your mass by keeping the weightlifting involved in this style of training, but you could also atrophy and inhibit the ability to gain lean mass because of the added amount of cardio. However, stationary cardio, also known as just LIST, low intensity steady state, could also atrophy your muscles if you get over a certain point. Doing a solid 4 sessions of maybe 20 minutes LIST cardio isn't gonna inhibit gains or atrophy your muscle, or in other words, break it down. However, if you're stuck on that cardio machine for anywhere to 45, 60, dare I even say 90 minutes, that's when you're definitely gonna see your muscle definition go down, your strength go down, and your energy go down. When you're in a caloric deficit, no matter what type of expenditure you're getting, you are going to decrease your energy levels. Your body typically is being deprived on purpose of carbs and added fat to where our energy levels are going down. One thing though to note, and one thing I always learned in school, is that fat burns in a carbohydrate flame. So without carbs present, it is hard for fat to burn. This is why keto, in my opinion, is not necessarily a way of life. However, it could be a short-term lifestyle change. That's a whole other situation, and we're not gonna get into that. Plain and simple, make sure that you remember that. Fat burns in a carbohydrate flame. That is what my nutrition teacher drilled into my head, so I'm gonna drill it into yours.
Frick, this is good.
Does be educating. Now that we've talked about how to get into a deficit, how to calculate, or how to do our cardio, now we're going to talk about what you need to be eating, cheat meals, refeeds, etc. When it comes to what you need to be eating, again, this differs based on your goals, your personal habits, and what you thrive off of. For some people, they thrive off of meal plans. Meal plans are great. I started out with one personally, and I followed it to a T for literally 8 months. It wasn't bad at the time, but looking back, now that I flexible diet, I could definitely see where some restrictive tendencies came into play. Not to say that every meal plan is a bad meal plan, but it's definitely something to note how you react to following a specific plan and if it works for you. For some people that maybe work 9 to 5 or have a very strict schedule, a meal plan could be easiest because it's easy to meal prep. You're always gonna know what's next, you know what to buy at the store, etc. But if you're someone out there who wants a little bit more variety, what you like to eat, that is when flexible dieting and really counting your macros can come into play. When you choose what style of eating you want, that is when you can now decide how you're going to treat yourself. Now, I freaking
hate that word. Don't come at me for that.
But there is obviously the stigma behind cheat meals or refeed meals. These two are very different. Cheat meals are gonna be something more of, like I said in my last YouTube video, a psychological break. This is a time where you have this designated meal that you're looking forward to. It gets your mind off of being in a deficit, being in a more restrictive cut, and obviously enjoy yourself. Then there's a refeed. A refeed is gonna be constructed. It's gonna be more physiological. Therefore, it's gonna help your body boot back and get right back into a fat burning mode, as well as give you a little bit more energy for that next or upcoming lift you have. This is also gonna be very constructed. So it's not gonna be,
alright, bye Des, go eat whatever you want.
See you later.
this is gonna be, hey Des, here's your macros that you need to hit for this refeed day or this specific refeed meal. Enjoy yourself, hasta mañana. For anyone that is in a cut, you have to realize that it's gonna suck. You're gonna have to do things that you never have done before in order to get the results that you have. So saying no is something you're gonna have to do. That doesn't mean that it's restrictive or a bad eating tendency. It's simply knowing when you should and should not participate in added calories. For anyone that is in a cut, I would highly suggest focusing more on refeed-based macros instead of just cheat meals. Cheat meals could easily be utilized in the beginning of a cut, maybe when your calories are still kind of high and we're just adding some cardio. But once you get into a really deep caloric deficit, you want to make sure that you're instilling refeeds and it being very constructed so that you're not losing sight of the actual goal. When you get so deep into a caloric deficit, your metabolism becomes very precious. The more food you give it immediately in a surplus, the more it's gonna draw back on you and result in more so added fat gain instead of using it as fuel. Now, that's really dramatic, but I'm just making a point that when you are in a deep deficit, especially something like post-show or again, just a deep lifestyle deficit, you don't just want to surplus yourself with calories. That's when you'll get the dreaded look of a rebound. And I ain't talking about Shaq. Does he even play anymore? I don't know. Maybe we're talking about LeBron. Curry. We're not talking about Curry. If you're someone that is coming out of a cut into a reverse diet, that is another video I could definitely cover, and make sure you drop below if you want to hear more about that. But that is when you could start bringing back in cheat meals since you're coming out of that caloric deficit and you're able to handle more food metabolically. My dog is just sleeping over here. He just looks so cute. I'm gonna take a picture and I'm gonna add it in here so you can see. When you're in a caloric deficit, it's important to note one thing that I get a lot of questions about, and that is fat burners. Fat burners are not gonna do the work for you guys. I don't care what you're taking. I don't care what you say it does. It's not gonna do the work that you need to do. What fat burners can do is help you increase your metabolism, which in turn increases the amounts of calories your body burns. It can also include caffeine, which caffeine is an appetite suppressant, therefore it can market it as
stay fuller longer or don't feel hungry.
Whatever it might be. Are fat burners necessary? Absolutely not. Could fat burners help you? Sure. Are they necessary to spend money on? No. It's definitely a call that's up to you. The thing I really want to cover is obviously water intake. A lot of people forget about this very important component. Water is important for literally every physiological process possible in your body. We are made of literally water. We're virtually water. So make sure that your water intake is high. One way that I stay hydrated AF is obviously using reusable straws because the environment matters. 2, using my hydro jug. That is 73 ounces out the gate. I have a nice little straw. I sip through it. I feel good. Another thing that I do is grab big ass cups from sporting events, put a little reusable straw in there and sip away. One rule of thumb that I have for water is that I will finish at least 80 to 100 ounces before I allow myself to have flavored water. This is kind of like my own rule. There's not really anything specific behind it, but it just kind of pushes me into this goal of finishing my water. And really, like, all the water you drink in the world counts, but you don't want it all to be flavored with like artificial stuff. So stay out of that. Once you are in a deficit and that is calculated, a lot of people ask, how long am I in a deficit? Now, that's really up to you. A lot of people cut for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, some even up to 24 weeks. It all depends on how aggressive or how slow you approach a cut. You can definitely make it a little bit aggressive, strip calories a little bit faster, and get to that goal quicker. But you can also drag it out a little bit longer, slowly decrease calories, slowly increase cardio, and ultimately make it a little bit more full of longevity and the opportunity to keep that weight off that you actually lost. There really is no right or wrong way. It's just dependent on when that goal of yours is for. Example, you know,
I want to be cut for spring break.
Okay, well, you have 12 months to do it. Or,
hey, I want to be cut for pool day in July.
Okay, you have a couple months. So it really depends on how aggressive or not aggressive you want to be in your cut. However, I would definitely recommend once you get into a point of your cut where you feel as if your progress has stalled. Sometimes it hasn't necessarily stalled, but you do need that refeed or you need that jump start. What you can do is obviously incorporate a refeed, or you can incorporate a maintenance level week or like a deload week. So stay away from the gym, increase your calories, get your body humming again, and then bring it back down into a deficit. These are all things that you kind of have to play with because like I said, everybody is different. As I'm telling you these rules of cutting or how to cut, I don't know what you've been through. I don't know what your metabolism is. I don't know if you have damage to your metabolism. So remember that this isn't a place where I'm like diagnosing you. I'm simply just giving you an overview on what a typical cut can look like for a typical person. One more thing, and the last thing I promise you is gonna be making sure that we're eating voluminous, nutrient-dense food. When you're in a cut, you don't just wanna blow all your macro money on Snickers. Think of it like this. Macros and calories are like dollars. With every dollar, you spend it on food. So, I thought I had to burp, not coming.
That's annoying.
So say that your oatmeal, that's worth 18 carbs. So say that's $18. I'm gonna give oatmeal $18 and I'm gonna get full because oatmeal has fiber in it. Oatmeal is very voluminous and it's delicious. Now say that I wanted a half of a Snickers bar. That's gonna be 18 carb as well. I give that $18 and I eat that. I'm still gonna be hungry because it was full of simple carbs, AKA also known as sugar. The best thing to do when you're in a cut is make sure that the foods you're eating are things that are gonna fill you up. These are typically things high in fiber, you know, veggies, broccoli, shredded lettuce in general, oatmeals, cauliflower rice, zucchini noodle, squash. All of these great nutrient-dense foods that are gonna give you more bang for your buck. Same with fruits. There's certain fruits that are gonna be very voluminous for low carb. Example would be blueberries. Or there's fruits that are gonna be not as voluminous for high carb. Example would be like grapes or pineapple. So make sure that you're paying attention to that as well, just because like I said, you literally want the most bang for your buck. I will put a link to my Facebook group below where I will definitely be posting about voluminous food hack. I just got done running my 6 weeks to shred challenge, and I had women lose anywhere from 20 pounds, 14 pounds, 7 pounds, 8 pounds in 6 weeks. So make sure that you check out that link below. I also have some great emails coming out, which lastly leads me to a nutritional guide that I have coming out. This nutritional guide is gonna give you everything you need to know about MyFitnessPal, how to log when you're tracking out, how to log when you're eating out, how to track when you're eating out, what macros are, what supplements you should be taking, meal timing. Literally, I can't even explain it all because it is way too much. It's gonna be amazing on top of at least 20 recipes, smoothie recipes, 6 different registered dietitian approved and created meal plans. So if you're interested on making sure that you're staying up to date on all of this nutritional information I have coming, including cuts, bulks, and reverse diets, make sure that you click below, join my email list, and stay up to date on that. Overall, when you're in a caloric deficit, like I said, sometimes it's literally gonna suck. But if you're someone that really wants to make some goals, make some changes, this is obviously the only way to do it. There's no other way to burn fat. Fat burners could help you, but they can also inhibit you. Ultimately, you wanna make sure that you are following a caloric deficit, sticking to the plan, and knowing when to say yes and when to say no. I hope that you guys were able to get something out of this video. I work really hard to provide information that is easy to understand and also kind of fun, not just boring and droughty and annoying. So hopefully I'm not like that. Comment below if you got something out of this. Make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And also let me know if you want to hear something more about maintenance mode, reverse dieting, or anything else that revolves around health and fitness. Thank you for being here. I will see you in the next video for a full day of eating.